We're kicking off with WrestleMania 40 Saturday, as going into the show, the Six-Pack Challenge ladder match promised chaos, and the second bout of the night certainly delivered just that. Not just ladders, but tables and chairs were broken over bodies, but when the undisputed tag team title match was finished, 2 new champions were crowned. At the start, the Raw tag titles and SmackDown tag titles were hung separately, and all 6 teams were eager to take home one, if not both, pairs of championship belts. Success first came to A-Town Down Under, as both Austin Theory and Grayson Waller climbed the ladder to win the SmackDown tag team titles, before focusing on the Raw gold. Before they could become undisputed champions though, Waller found himself broken over a table set up outside of the ring, dashing the hopes of a second win for the team. Theory attempted to reunify the tag team championships for A-Town Down Under, but was quickly met with a Birminghammer from New Catch Republic. Chaos continued until R-Truth found himself alone in the ring with a ladder, and Philadelphia lost its collective mind as the veteran captured the Raw Tag Team Championships. This marked Truth's first WrestleMania victory in his nearly 25-year career, and his first taste of Tag Team Championship gold since 2012. As of this time, the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships have been officially dissolved back into the Raw and SmackDown tag titles, ending the Judgment Day's reign at 173 days. This match had a lot of exciting spots, but also included a very scary botch, as at one point, The Miz and Damian Priest attempted to climb a ladder that had seen severe damage. As Miz climbed, the fans could see that the ladder was buckling under his weight, and in an interesting move, referee Jessica Carr could be seen trying to inform Priest that the ladder wasn't safe. Priest continued with his spot with The Miz anyway, and ultimately the ladder did break, and Priest jumped and dropped The Miz midway through a chokeslam. It's likely the move was supposed to be south of heaven, and luckily no one was injured, and Priest was able to replace the ladder before Truth got the win for his team. With this being WrestleMania, the superstars were dressed to impress, and DIY rocked DX-themed gear and entrance, with Gargano being the Shawn Michaels to Ciampa's Triple H. Not to be outdone, the New Day showed up to Philadelphia with attires based on the Rocky movies, with Kofi Kingston wearing black and yellow like the Italian Stallion. Xavier Woods appeared dressed as Apollo Creed, but his red, white, and blue ensemble could also be seen as a nod to his TNA days as Consequences Creed. The big takeaway from this match, though, was the de-unifying of the tag team titles, as fans can expect more battles for championship gold now that Raw and SmackDown have their own titles again. WWE featured a brief tribute to Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 40, and as his theme song played in Philadelphia, the stadium was filled with the fireflies of the WWE Universe. Wyatt is no longer with us, but his legacy remains, and this made for a touching scene in Lincoln Financial Field at WrestleMania Saturday. Dominik Mysterio teamed with Santos Escobar to face Rey Mysterio and Andrade, the latter replacing Dragon Lee, who was attacked on the previous night's SmackDown. As expected, this was a fast-paced, exciting match with Rey, Andrade, and Santos all being veterans, and Dom having shown massive improvements since joining WWE. The match was filled with incredible spots mixing Lucha Libre and WWE's style, and it looked like Rey and Andrade had been wrestling together for their whole life as the duo put on a great show. The unique finish saw NFL stars Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson come out in masks, preventing Dirty Dom from using a chair and throwing him into a ring post. This allowed Rey and Andrade to get the win, handing Dominik his third loss at WrestleMania after teaming with his father in 2022 and being beaten by his old man last year. WrestleMania is always a star-studded event, and this week's festivity saw a rare appearance by a superstar who's been out of action for close to a year. Braun Strowman has been inactive since May 2023 due to a neck injury, but appeared in August on the Bray Wyatt Tribute SmackDown and resurfaced this week on the WrestleMania kickoff. Strowman was with Sam Roberts to promote Wheatley Vodka, one of WWE's big business partners for WrestleMania, and the first alcoholic beverage to sponsor the event. Braun was clearly having a blast and also recently met with fans, and we'll have to see when the Monster Among Men is back in the ring. Prior to the Intercontinental Championship match, Sami Zayn was backstage speaking first to Chad Gable, followed by his wife and son, and lastly with his longtime friend and former rival, Kevin Owens. Zayn is a natural babyface, but is even more of an underdog when he's against a monster heel like Gunther, and the crowd were heavily behind the Canadian. They structured this match how you would expect, with Gunther dominating for a few minutes before Zayn made a comeback, and then Gunther counters him and begins the cycle again. The presence of Sami's wife and the emotions she portrayed made the match more emotionally invested for the fans, as the storytelling was on top form for this well-executed match. Both men had several visible bruises and bumps, but the surprising part was how much redder Gunther's chest was than Zayn's, because the Austrian is usually the one giving out the welts. This was just as physical as expected, and Zayn survived some of Gunther's biggest moves, including a massive clothesline and 2 brutal powerbombs. The ring general became more frustrated and started punishing Zayn while talking trash to his wife, but while he was toying with his opponent, Zayn began showing signs of life. He nailed Gunther with a haluva kick, followed by a super brainbuster, and drilled Gunther with 2 more haluva kicks to get the pin and become our Intercontinental Champion. It's fitting that such a dominant reign was finally brought to an end by the underdog from the underground in one of the most physical and emotional matches of the night. But why was Zayn selected as the man to dethrone Gunther when there were plenty of worthy candidates? Well, for one, Zayn was long overdue for a singles title reign. Zayn's previous singles title reign was over 700 days before WrestleMania 40 Saturday, despite Sami being one of the most popular and beloved stars over the past few years. The underdog was overdue for another reign, and he got his reward on the grandest stage, with the ovation he received from the crowd being a testament to how much he deserved it. As for Gunther, for much of his Intercontinental title reign, it's been clear he is a future WWE World Champion and has the tools to be a main event heel in the years to come. The longest reigning Intercontinental Champion could finally be moving up to the big time, which would explain his loss to Sami in Philadelphia. With WWE bringing shows to France, Germany, and the UK, Gunther may be in for some big world title feuds and even wins, given his past of achieving greatness in Europe. It'd be difficult to argue that he's not ready for the move, and don't be surprised if we see Gunther in the main event soon enough. In the third meeting of real brothers at WrestleMania, Jimmy and Jey Uso fought at WrestleMania, with the impatient Jey hitting a suicide dive before Jimmy got to the ring. It took a bit for Jimmy to regain his footing, but once he did, he hit a few running hip strikes to channel their father, Rikishi. This match was about storytelling, not putting on a technical classic, and while some exciting sequences worked, others didn't, as it often felt like the pair were moving too slow. This caused some of the crowd to start checking out, but they did wake up a bit when Jimmy started begging Jey for forgiveness. Jey picked him up and hugged him before Jimmy popped him with a super kick and hit an Uso splash for a 2 count, and once Jey recovered, he hit him with a splash of his own for the win. Not having Solo Sikoa get involved was the right call, and this was decent, but for WrestleMania, it didn't quite measure up, and on any other pay-per-view, this might have been received better. Bianca Belair, Jade, Cargill, and Naomi had an epic entrance for their match against Kairi Sane, Asuka, and Dakota Kai, which included a special elevator and introduction, practically spoiling who would be winning. 6-person tag matches usually follow a pattern designed to give all 6 competitors some time in the ring and at least one moment to shine, so there is usually a predictable flow. Predictability isn't a bad thing if the action is good, and that was the case here, as there was plenty to enjoy with Belair impressing as ever, especially with a moonsault on her enemies. When Cargill finally tagged into the match, the crowd lit up and she went after everyone on the opposing team, and she caught Zayn in midair and hit a backbreaker, which Zayn sold like a pro. She picked up the win for her team in a match that was good, but shorter than expected, and with a few more minutes, this would have been much more memorable. WrestleMania 40 opened with Coco Jones singing the national anthem before Triple H welcomed fans to the show, and then it was time to get into the Women's World Championship match. Becky Lynch's memoir-themed entrance included her narrating select quotes, while Ripley was played to the ring by the band Motionless in White. The man scored the first major takedown with a flying dropkick that sent Ripley out of the ring, but Mommy fired back and began beating on Lynch in the corner. It never felt like either woman had the advantage for too long, and with 2 women known for physical matches, it shouldn't surprise anyone that this was a highly competitive bout. Lynch focused a lot of her attention on the arm Ripley had in a cast recently to set up for her finisher, but Ripley locked in her reverse cloverleaf before Lynch could apply her armbar. After working her way out of a disarm her, Ripley took Lynch to the floor and landed an electric chair, and it took a few more minutes before Ripley got the win after landing another riptide. It could be argued the moment marks a metaphorical passing of the baton, with the veteran Lynch putting over the rising star Ripley, further legitimizing her place as world champion. Ripley's reign has already included singles victories over performers like Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya, and now you can add Lynch's name to the list. This is Ripley's second consecutive Mania win, and if last year's victory over Charlotte Flair was about establishing a new star, this year's win was about cementing a new standard in WWE. Speaking of Flair, the Queen was spotted backstage and embraced Ripley after her victory over a woman that Flair knows plenty about facing at WrestleMania. But where does this leave Lynch? Was this a goodbye performance by the man who recently spoke about believing it won't make sense for her to be on the road once Rue starts school? Whatever the future holds, this was the perfect match for the opening spot if it wasn't going to be the main event, and both superstars did an excellent job making every moment matter. In the main event, Roman Reigns and The Rock defeated Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, ensuring that Bloodline rules, aka anything goes, will be in effect when Reigns and Rhodes next face off. This match wasn't short on notable moments, starting with The Rock's entrance that saw him come out with the People's Championship and looked to be in great shape. Some mid-match shenanigans went down as The Rock was flexing his influence as a TKO board member and ordered the referee to not count anyone out, and also got away with a clear low blow. Aside from The Rock's strong-arming, another recurring storyline was Rollins' injured left knee, which he clearly favored, especially after staggering outside the ring at one point. This will be something to watch when the World Heavyweight Champion is challenged by Drew McIntyre, and also came into play when The Rock put Rollins in a sharpshooter. There was an unfortunate botch in the ring as at one point, Rhodes was clearly meant to tag in Rollins, but missed his cue, and the second time, accidentally reached Roman instead. Reigns and Rollins called an audible and walked back into the spot so Rollins could tag in, and this was just a minor issue in an otherwise highly entertaining match. There were close calls on both sides, with one of the biggest seeing Reigns accidentally spear his cousin, leading to Rollins and Rhodes hitting tandem pedigrees and going for double pins. The Bloodline were able to kick out though, but The Rock couldn't escape Cody reversing a rock bottom on the table as the American Nightmare hit a rock bottom of his own on the final boss. This was immediately followed by Reigns spearing Rollins through a barricade, and while Cody tried to finish Reigns off with a trio of crossroads, the third was thwarted by The Rock. The Rock used his belt to stop Cody in his tracks and would hit the rock bottom and People's Elbow for the victory. A win on night 1 would have given Cody a huge advantage on night 2, but now he'll have to go through the might of the Bloodline during his Universal title match. With that said, this kind of booking is a strong indicator that Cody is indeed winning the title now that all hope seems lost for the American Nightmare. Over a decade removed from his last match that lasted over 6 seconds, The Rock showed little to no ring rust and brought his final boss persona to new levels with his work in the match. During the match, Pat McAfee said that Reigns was currently battling leukemia, which left fans worried for the health of the tribal chief, who gave an update after the show. Reigns explained he's on oral chemotherapy medication and likely will be for the rest of his life, and while he's in remission, it's something he has to face, and that will continue to be the case.